All right, Algebra 1 kiddos, we are moving on and we're going to talk about proportions. We've actually used this strategy, I would say quite a bit, but it's been off and on. So one thing I want you to think about is you went to gym class the other day, right? Just pretend if you didn't have gym yet. Okay, and you got 11 out of 13 on something. So how do you find out what score you got? So what typically happens is many of you are going to do 11 divided by 13, and we're going to find out some decimal. Okay, so make sure you grab your calculator for today and get that set. Now, when you do that, it's going to say 0.846. And when I ask you about it in math class, you're going to say, oh, I got an 85. Well, that doesn't say 8.46, right? It doesn't say straight up 85. So how did you do that? Well, what you did without knowing it is you moved the decimal 2 places and you kind of rounded it over, and that's exactly right. So as we work on some things today, I want you to think about what actually happens, right? 13 is the best score, 100% is the best score. So what you did without realizing it is the same thing as cross multiplying here and here, and then you divide it by 13. So this would give me that 85% right away as long as I round it. So we're going to make you a little bit more aware of the things that you're doing in this lesson. And that's how we use some of our cross multiply. So as I make my way back up to the top here, you can see exactly that you have a working knowledge of what you're going to do. So what's the solution here? Right, I get 3/4. So what's 3/4 of 14? Right, so I get 3 times 14, and it equals 4 times x. So I'm going to divide by 4. And some of you are saying, well, why didn't you multiply that? Well, use this however you want. If you have your calculator handy, you can go ahead and do that. But sometimes I like to do this, right? So what's 14 divided by 4? Well, they're both divisible by 2. Okay, so now I got 21 over 2. So whatever decimal that comes out to. I'm not going to care too much about that, how we have that. So, right, we know half of 21, that's going to be 10.5 as our final answer, but we'll take it either way. So just keep that in mind as we work through some of these. The process is more important than what happens in the end here. So I'm just going to do some highlighting up here, right? So I might have 5b equals 3 times 8, that's 24, divide by 5. Okay, so b could be 24/5. We also know that's 4 and 4/5. Okay, either one works. Okay, again, the cross multiplying, so I get 8m, and it's going to be equal to 12 times 3, that's 36, divided by 8. Okay, that one we'd have to reduce. So here you might want to realize that this is going to be what, 4 and 4/8. So 4.5 gets us our final answer. So 6z, we're going to cross multiply. Look at this one, it's going to be nice, right? And divide. So we end up with z equals 3. Okay, so you can see the same thing over and over. I see in the second row we have some of the same stuff, except for we're going to end up dealing with some negatives here in 11 and 12 as well. Okay, sometimes you might notice something right away, right? 7 to 14, then it must be times 2. So I'm hoping this answer comes out to be 6. Okay, so this is a case where I might use that strategy up above because I don't have my calculator handy. So I'm going to divide. So 14 divided by 7, that's 2 over 1, right? Because they're both divisible. So v equals 6, right? If you did it the other way, 14 times 3, right? We're looking at 42 divided by 7, and that equals 6 as well. Okay, so we can look for some of those nuances and what's going to happen. All right, so we're going to be careful here. I see negatives all over the place, so I just want to be careful of that. So negative 9f, and we got negative times a negative, so this would be positive, and it's going to be 48, right? 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 1 is 4. But we had crossed out all the negatives to get started with. But my answer is back to negative, right? So 48 over 9. All right, so we're 5 1/3 somewhere along the ways here. So 5.3 repeating. All right, right, so I don't see anything. I don't know how to turn 2 into 13, so this might be kind of a tough one with a decimal or something in there. So 13 times 6, let's get that one. And keep in mind with the signs, right, we're at 78 here, like positive, negative, so it's negative. So we're gonna have to take half of that. Okay, so we're down to negative 39. All right, so we're going to add one extra thing to it, and this is not extra, right? We're not doing anything new, we're just going to add to it. So this time when I cross multiply, I have -8, but when I cross multiply the other way, I have 5 times x minus 3. So we have to distribute, right? And I know I talk to you guys all the time. Can we divide by 5? Yes, I can, but this one's going to turn into a fraction. So in this case, I want to make sure that I distribute because I don't want to have to deal with the fraction in process. So I got 5x. This equals 7 and divide by 5. So x is 7/5, right? If you had 1 2/5 or 1.4, that'll work as well. Right, so again, we can cross multiply. Remember, the order that we do it doesn't matter because it's equal. So it would, if I flip it around, it'd be the same thing. So 10 times y plus 6 equals 12 times 13. Okay, 156. Right, and that's not going to divide nicely. It'll turn into a decimal, so it's totally up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and distribute and see what happens. So we're going to subtract 60. Okay, minus 60. Remember, I want to take away 50, gets me to 106, and 10 more gets me to 96, and divide by 10. Okay, so here, instead of doing anything else, I'm just going to move the decimal, so it becomes 9.6. All right, one more of this type. So at any point here, you can pause the video, see if you're doing it correctly. All right, so this is one that I was really hoping to run into because you talked about instead of distributing, if the number on the other side, this -30, it's divisible by 2, so make your life a little bit easier and go ahead and divide it. Okay, so it's one thing kind of unconsciously in the background you're thinking about is, can I just divide this instead? So we get our -12. All right, so let's go ahead and look at maybe the next couple and see if there's something else that we can do with it. All right, these look like a repeat. Okay, so let's jump down to this 18, 19 and see how they're a little bit different, a little more involved. Because we're going to be involved in anything you want to get done. We're going to be involved in it. -4x minus 5. All right, we're used to that. Oh, I see. Now this side is 5 times 3 plus x. So we're going to have to distribute on both sides. Right, distribute on both sides. Now it becomes the variables on both sides, which we've been working on for a little bit. So I hope this isn't too bad. The plus sign looks terrible in there. There we go. Okay, so some things you want to double check before we do anything else. Your -4 times -5, did you make it plus 20? Right, that's a common mistake that I see. All right, I want to make sure my x's are positive, so I'm going to add 4x. All right, so now I'm looking at 20 equals 15 plus 9x. Subtract that 15 out. So 9x equals 5 and divide by 9. All right, so we'll take that 5/9. All right, so I knew there was something different because I had multiple x's in here. Oh, that's supposed to be a highlighter. All right, there we go. All right, so I ended up with those. So I knew there was going to be something a little bit extra to this problem, but totally within our abilities at this point. All right, let's take a look at the other one. It's the same idea. We're going to cross multiply. So I got 3 times 15 minus x, and it equals 6 times -2 plus x. All right, we're going to distribute and get to work here. So 15, 30, 45, right? If I triple it, minus 3x goes -12 plus 6x. All right, where are we going? We're going to add 3x, right? Because we want to try and keep that positive. We like to be positive people. So we're up to 9x. We're going to add 12. That just happens to continue to work out here. So 9x equals, we got a 7 here and a 5 there. We're going to divide by 9. Let's see, is 57 divisible by 9 at all? Yeah, we can make it 6 1/3. Okay, if you had 6.3 repeating, we're in the same boat, okay? All right, so we get a little bit of word problems. I think it'd be best if we work on some of those together in class. So we'll kind of cut it off there. All right, so review what you have, make sure all your answers matched up. Might be a good idea. Let me take these out of the way. You have this in your notes there. Try these two, and I'll get those answers posted, or we'll talk about them first thing in class. That way we can kind of check in at that point.